You gonna record?
Yeah.
Where? On the back?
With my mouse.
Oh, there's a mouse over there.
Yes, with
Oh,
my
okay. I can't see it direct this way. I cannot see it. So I'm gonna turn off one of these lights too. The why we've spent the first month, and the third assignment is going to be the hard one. We spent the first month going over census, but there was other data in there, not just census. We got the health data, and this one, did I get everything from census? I did. After this, we're going to move on to other data, and we're going to read some articles, but. I don't want you to leave thinking like social science research is all about census. It's not. It's not at all. Census is just easy to access data that we can start to get an idea of what we want to look into. But there's not much that you can really draw conclusions from with census, but it's very good to supplement when you're doing other things. So in articles that you read, they'll have census cited in there to get a frame of where they're looking at, where is this population, who is it we're talking about, and then go in and do like qualitative research, questionnaires, to go beyond, to go deep into what census can do. Census might say there's this many people in poverty, but are there things in the neighborhood that are causing this poverty, where people can't get out of poverty? Census might say, whatever it's saying, there's things that we're gonna want to do as social sciences to go to the next level with. Even if, all right, so like let's say census is huge, but why don't you tell me, why is census so important? Anybody?
Well, it's easier because all data is compiled in place.
Yeah, but what do we do as like a country? Why is it so important that we take this and what do we do with it?
Compared to other countries.
Do you know what you're gonna say? No.
Yeah.
There you go.
I was gonna say if a state is governing a body of people, they have to know like information about the body of people that they're governing.
Yeah, for like simple things, and not filling off fire departments. So now there could be like this happens all the time in the in between of censuses also of like if there's when probably between 2000 and 2010 there were more Venezuelans who moved here than we thought would be here. Like if it was 1999 and we're looking at how many Venezuelans are coming to Miami and we did a census in 2000, we'd have one number, and the number we get in 2010, there's gonna be a lot more than we thought, right? I mean, surely you live and breathe enough to know that between 2000 and 2010, there was an influx, I think like 100,000, maybe more than 100,000, some ridiculous amount of Venezuelans came to South Florida. Okay, so all of a sudden, Doral went from being nothing to now it's like the worst I avoided at every cost, going to Doral. But again, I avoid Doral, so I don't really know the answer, but I'm assuming they have schools there, and maybe the schools now might need more teachers, might need ESL teachers, or whatever the little initials are for it now. I think they changed it, it's not ESL, whatever it is. Spanish, English speaking teachers on staff, and they might need to figure out how many of those are they gonna need. You know what else changed? 2008, I don't know if you heard, but there was an economic collapse. A lot of families who were living in like a big, like McMansion, or just a big house that was like not that, during the huge growth in the early 2000s, people were moving into big houses that were expensive. And then after the crash, in the years that followed, families been like doubling up in those houses. Like taking a regular house and then now two families living there. You've heard of this happening before? I mean, not a two-family house, and I don't mean just like people, I mean like, yeah, so there might be, people gotta figure out different housing situations post-2008. They didn't think about in the beginning, it's before 2008. So, for a census, if it's in between the census, we might not catch that. And the things they do in between, like the data that we were using, is coming from American Community Survey. That's just a random sampling. Census goes to every single door and gets it's not a sample, it's not 100% accurate, but it is the closest thing you'll ever see to being 100% accurate as a social scientist. Because it accounts for every address, and it can even kind of account for homeless people. Yeah.
So census is like the only study that uses population data as opposed to sample?
Yeah, that actually uses it's not a sampling, it is the whole population. I mean, if you were to do research, you might account for, like, let's say you narrow your research down to, FIU students who came from Pakistan. There's probably like 50 of those. You can probably go, actually no, there's more than 50. We just don't see them on this campus. At the medical school, at the other schools, but not like right here. But anyway, some other country that there's only like 50 of them maybe. You might go talk to every one of those people, it's possible. But even if you were gonna do a study on FIU, you're not gonna talk to 55,000 students. The only one who would do that is like, the registrar might take a sampling of like 2 questions, but even after that, you're not really gonna ask for too many because people aren't gonna wanna do with that survey. But census covers the whole country, 40 million people, something like that, however many we're up to now. It is also, if you actually probably didn't notice because you didn't really go to where I downloaded the data from you, and I'm glad I don't ask students to download it themselves in a way because it was like a lot of time when we could have been doing other things rather than learning a confusing ass government website. But one thing to notice is somewhere in here, which agency of the government does it come from? It doesn't say it there. Census is a bureau. Government though has departments like Department of Energy, Department of Labor, and within that there'll be these other divisions. Census is in the Department of Commerce. You know what commerce means? Conducting business kind of thing. So, it's great for us to plan out government things that we'll need to like accommodate the population for, but it's also great for business. For us as small businesses or even large businesses to understand where our market is. So us as social scientists, and the whole place is filled up with people who got degrees in sociology, economics, and geography. I think our school economics is in the business school, but most places economics is the social science also. Ours is in CEPA.
Yeah, economics also CEPA.
It's in CEPA, yeah. Okay, so yeah, economics is a social science also. And that's who goes to work there. Like not the people who go around and knock on your doors every 10 years. I mean the people who work there. There's about 2,000 employees just outside of DC in this big government building, and almost all of them have degrees in geography, sociology, and economics. And they do exactly what we just did, is take the data, be able to make visualizations and make reports so that because people aren't gonna access the data themselves necessarily, they can read the reports to find out what's changing in the population in certain areas. So all day, every day, social scientists are making these reports for people. Now, this is not to try to get you to work for the Census Bureau, but if you got a job in social sciences, you'd probably be doing that same thing that we just did in this assignment and what I just described, people who work at the Census Bureau doing. If you worked at Miami-Dade Health and Human Services Department, or Miami-Dade Department of Education, like the Miami-Dade School Board, you would need to access the data from Census. I mean, the thing I just described, with Doral in the last 10 years, a huge growth in the Venezuelan population. well, something needs to, they don't just randomly start building more schools and hiring teachers. You know, they do studies, and then those studies are conducted by social scientists who have to figure out what just happened last year, what's happening right now, and what can we anticipate next year? How many more classrooms are we gonna need, or are we gonna need less? How many more teachers, and do we need those teachers to be making sure that there's gonna be a problem, if there's a problem with English, there's a problem with math, whatever it is, a problem, that they can foresee it so that like one batch of students doesn't get left behind. Because most things get planned on a 1-year basis at the school department, school board. So they do exactly these kind of things. Well, I'm getting to what the Census 3 assignment we're gonna do is just that. We're looking at certain demographics within the population here in Miami and who has dropped out of school and so if you divide Miami into white, black, and Latin, and we look at the people that are below the poverty line and the people that are not, and who is not making it through school. Did anybody see this documentary, Waiting for Superman? No. Anybody ever watch the documentary? No. It won like an Oscar or something. Yeah, it won an Oscar a few years ago though. And it was interesting, though it was propaganda. At the end of the day, the point of it, they say, is to get rid of unions and privatize the public education. That's just unbelievable. But one of the things that was a huge point in there is so much of the time we look at, if there's a school that's struggling and we say, oh, look at that neighborhood, you would expect that the school would not be good if it's in a certain neighborhood. Why are we looking at it the opposite way? This neighborhood is messed up because of what this school did to it. If you don't go to high school, right now you guys are gonna graduate college, hopefully. You gotta pass this class. Then you can then you got a couple other people standing in your way. But you gotta graduate college, think about all the options you're gonna have and what you're gonna do, what you'd like to do before life gets in the way. All kinds of things. If you don't graduate high school, what kind of options are you gonna be traveling the world? Chances are you're gonna be not even left that area that you went to high school in if you don't finish high school. So every year, there's more and more people who drop out who are just aggregating in this one neighborhood. So the school is actually producing a failing neighborhood, not that the neighborhood is producing a failing school. Anyway, that was just one of the points of this movie. We're gonna be, for most of the semester, looking at the public education system. Most of the rest of the semester. And, yeah, starting today. What else did I want to say? Census is great, but don't go, it's not the everything. We looked at other data though, the health department, and Miami, that's the other place I got data. In general, you could just write data in front of and back of anything you want, and you can see if it's available. So if I want Miami-Dade Public School, and I just write data, and watch what happens. Opens up the portal to school performance grades. Look at all of these Excel sheets of data you can download. The other one was FCAT changed its name?
No, it's Florida Department of Education.
Oh, this is the whole state one, okay. Anyway, so if you're here, and even within here, there's all kinds of different assessments and things to download data about. All this data readily accessible about schools, right here. Same thing with, that's how I got to the health data. I just looked at Florida health and I wrote data, and it comes up with everything from the Florida Health Department. Anything that you spend your tax dollars on, that agency has to make a report and make their data, whatever their findings are, needs to be publicly available. So you can find out things about health, you can find out things about crime, school, anything from census, anything. There's a Department of Labor in this country, and they report stuff every month. That means you can have you know, like when you see on the news, oh, the economy created such and such new jobs last month. Well, you can actually go look it up. It doesn't seem possible with what all they just said in the news, because they report all things about labor. You gotta pay taxes on it. And every business is gonna have to pay business taxes. It's gonna be reported how many more people got hired, how many more people got let go. You know, it's so funny when they say how many jobs were created. They never say how many jobs were lost that month. So. All right. So enough of talk about census and data. I'm not going to directions and examples. Census. Wait. Oh. So for this assignment, we are introducing the ideas and practices for the concept in the paper, in the poster we're making. Next one. There's a growing gap in most social indicators, wealth, upward mobility, etc., and education. Huge gap in education. Even though like 70% of Americans now go to college, it's still continuing to produce this gap. There's a common theme in academic writing that Hispanic and Black students are underperforming, and that poverty also has a strong correlation to performance. Let's do a case study for Miami. Pretend as if we're working for the Miami-Dade, I should have said Education Board, and we need to improve performance for our constituents. Let's prepare an executive summary for the Education Board of which areas are not succeeding and need to improve. So I gathered all the data for you. Let me download that right here. And this one is much bigger. Okay, that's everything, all of it right there. Find as a whole number of the population. These groups find as a percent, the 18 to 24 with no diploma, male percent no diploma, and female percent no diploma. The next part is going to be as whole numbers. We have to turn it into percents. We need to find, and I found all these things. Total population, poverty population, male poverty population, female poverty population, and 18, 20 to 24. Then do the same thing for Latin, and do the same thing for Black. Add the no diploma data. Add that to the no diploma data, and we need this table to fit on one page. Blah blah blah. these have all been my suggestions to you, students who are learning how to prepare data. You need to work on making data and visuals that work for you, not just doing what I say to do. When you write what happens in the data, it is you, the researcher, that is interpreting it. As you get better, you will find more things in the data that are significant. As you learn more programs, the programs will give you greater abilities to interpret the data. Meaning, we're just gonna be looking at it and saying what is significant, what is standing out. Versus if we learned social sciences today uses computers. Like, most of what I actually do here at FIU is GIS. I take data and I map it. Most sociologists use Stata. Stata, you produce statistical outputs from it. And the computer program will tell you a lot better than you just looking at it, what is significant and what is not significant. Stata, GIS, SPSS is another one. Go.
Do you use R?
I don't, but yeah, do you know it?
Yeah.
You know how to use it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I had to learn it for a political science class,
But
but at a different school, at my school,
what school?
Princeton.
You don't go to Princeton any longer?
Yeah.
Oh, you do go to Princeton?
Yeah.
What are you doing here?
I'm taking transfer credits.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, the first sentence in here I was saying is an education gap in America. The fact that you have to take R at Princeton, but this room doesn't know what R is, do we? This is producing an education gap. Yes, so many more people have a college degree. It used to just be literally the richest and the whitest kids in America went to college. Now, everybody goes to college, but that doesn't mean anything's equal. There's a huge gap. This is important to think about. The elitist high schools in Miami, there's probably like 3 that are about 40,000 a year. Probably. Ransom, one that's next to Mercy Hospital, it's near my house, I forget what it's called. Columbus? I don't know that one. Columbus. There's like Catholic schools.
Oh, it's a Catholic.
There's public schools, and then there's elite private schools. Now, barely anybody goes to these elite private schools. Barely anybody. 1% of America goes to, like where the Obama kids went. Sidwell Friends in DC. Very nice. It looks like a college campus. So barely any Americans go to those schools. But, I mean like 1% maybe. Go to the campus of Princeton, and how many people from Princeton went to those schools? Right, like 90%. So like you're gonna work all you wanted in high school, but there's not enough space for you at the most elite colleges that there are. Then you think of, there was a job fair here the other day. They don't really have job fairs I mean they do, but like people don't get job fairs at the elitist of schools. There is a clear path of going from Wharton School to Goldman Sachs. Wharton School is the business school at UPenn, which is the Ivy League. It's just a clear path right there. A straight path. They just funnel the students from MIT right into Northrop Grumman, right into the banking industry as well. The people, so this divide of all of the growth in wealth that's ever happened, but like we see it even more now in like the last 20 years, it's staying within certain populations. Anyway, so yeah, so even down to like, when I came here at FIU, it was not mandatory to take GIS as a geography major. And I kind of was like, how is that possible? How can you then graduate and say you're a geographer and you don't know what GIS is? Because any job that wants a geographer, you have to know what GIS is. You can't really function as a geographer just knowing how to read a map. You have to be able to make the map. And the same thing is true of sociology. You have to know all the computer programs possible to be relevant in this discipline. So sociology isn't just reading nice papers and interesting things about populations. It's producing the data to make these statements and make these papers. So yeah, R, that is kind of taken over because somehow, well, not somehow, just geniuses wrote it. Yeah, it does programming, it does all of these things all combined into one. They even use it in GIS, they use it in SPSS, they use it alone. You can take data and do all kinds of crazy things in it. There's people who use R, and there's people who write programming for R to like, then, yeah. I'm not that good with it, but I know how to use it a little bit. But yeah, that one is, everybody seems to be using it. I see these other programs are for each discipline, but R kind of like took over. Everybody kind of needs to learn R now. Anyway, I pass this school all the time. Man, whenever I'm coming here and I'm like, ooh, let me run into Starbucks real quick. And at 3 o'clock, it's just been taken over by kids from this school. Where were we? We need to be able to turn this data into percents. We learned how to turn things into a percent, I think. Yes, we had to do that for the black population. We had to take the total of the black population and divide it by the total population to find out what percentage of each county is black. But seeing how only 5 people turned in the homework assignment, maybe not everybody did that. Maybe. So I mean, that's all a percent is though. Like, what percentage of students are absent today? There's supposed to be 13 and 5 are not here. So you take that 5 divided by the total, and we find out that some like 40% of the students, no, yeah, somewhere around 35 to 40% of the students are not here today. Fascinating, huh? Use percents in anything. Figure out what percentage of the students are not going to get that C to graduate. It's supposed to be 13. Now, there's like almost too much stuff in here, but like I said in what I was writing, what did I say? You need to work to just do the visuals, organize the data, and do what works for you to understand it. You look at this table and try to figure out what needs further exploring is what you want to be doing. So you can decide what to turn into a percent to make a visual from. So is there a gender issue? Well, one of the things, constants versus variables. You heard these terms? I think I said it in my email also, and I was like, I don't know if you know what that is. Constant versus a variable in social sciences. The constant is going to be the one that you're seeing if all these other things are a factor in it. So let's just say no diploma is the problem. So no diploma would be the constant. And the variables we see, is there a gender gap between it? Is poverty an issue? Is poverty and being Latin an issue? Those are all the other variables that we're trying to figure out what is significant here. Why do we have so many people that are dropping out? That's what we're trying to figure out. And I mean, not everything in social science is a constant and variable, but this level of what we're doing, we're just dealing with like some initial data this semester, and probably the whole time you're in college, and probably even if you just even got a job in social sciences with just a bachelor's degree, essentially what you're still doing is just constants versus variables, trying to figure out which variables are the most significant and how can we find solutions for it. Holy shit, why my phone has not stopped the whole time I've been sitting here? I'm away from it. So, the no diploma is the constant. We have it as the total, and then we have the percent for each of them. It seems like there's a huge difference, a noticeable difference, sometimes bordering on huge, between male and female. What are you expecting that? Would you expect that? That males would be more likely to drop out of school than females? That's life not, you haven't noticed that in life? See, this is the thing why social sciences are pretty, if you just disciplined and did it. The thing about social sciences, most of us are social beings. Like, we can kind of see things in life, don't draw conclusions from that, but be like, yeah, I think that could be true. Let me go get the data and like actually study it. But these are like things like understanding galaxies. Like, these are things that you probably saw in your own life. In school, some people dropped out. Not you, because you're here now. So more of the boys were dropping out than the girls, probably. So now we could take that and say, all right, let's keep them separate, and then, or we can keep them as, it's on you. You keep them separate or keep them as just as one, and then compare, how does that compare to the male poverty 18 to 24? And maybe even just compare it to the Latin poverty 18 to 24, Hispanic poverty 18 to 24, or the Black poverty 18 to 24. Now some things will stick out hugely in here. These are 1, 2, I think it's 12 different areas of Miami. Miami can be quite segregated. I think something like 80% of the Black population lives uptown. From Overtown, like 95 would be the line, and I think 47, whatever divides Hialeah, something like that. That's where like 80% of the Black population in Miami lives, is over there. If you're not over there, chances are you won't see too many non-Hispanic Black people. In fact, in Key Biscayne, $45. Total Black population in Key Biscayne is 45. It is a total of 12,000 people. That's like 0.00, that's like barely anything. So what do you want to compare right now? Think of something to compare. I want to turn this thing. In the directions, the other thing I said to do, it can be easier. This looks better because it all fits on one page nicely. But you see over here in the directions, I said something about, we need this table to fit on a page, open a new sheet in your Excel book, copy the table. I already did all this for you. When you copy it though, you can also transpose it and it'll invert the data. So watch what I'm gonna do here. make a new sheet. I'm gonna take all of this stuff, all of it, control, click. Now I got all of it selected. I'm gonna copy it. And then when I hit paste, I have these options. Regular style, as numbers, with the formulas, or you transpose it. Means it like inverts it. Now the geography is going down here and the data is going over there. Just for me, I find it easier to then be able to make percents. So if we simply look at here's another, actually my fault. Here's another thing to really think about. Let's say we want to look at the poverty, the black poverty, or the black 18 to 24-year-old, 18 to 24-year-old poverty. Now, we want to turn this into percentage. Will we divide it by the total in that area, the total black population in that area, or total poverty in that area? You see, those three things will come out with very different answers. So is the black poverty alarmingly greater than the total poverty in that area? Is it, though, out of a percent of the total population? Or is it out of the black population? You see what the difference would be there? And especially in Miami, where, okay, like say South, like Homestead, there's not many black people there, but the black population that is there is pretty low income. Because there's only like a couple little pockets. It's not where black people ever were. We don't have to go over the whole history of things, but if you just think about the 100 years of Miami, all of Miami was on the north side. That's when black people came here. There's not really a movement of black people are leaving here fast. They're not here. So all of the new growth was in the South. That's where all of the expanse, like the last 30 years of growth in Miami has been like south of Coral Gables. That's for the influx of Latin people that's coming here. So, but in a place like Homestead, and even on this is also my fault. I know I'm skipping around a lot, but I sound like this. I always make fun of transcripts of Donald Trump because he like never finishes a sentence and he's all over the place. And I'm like laughing at it because I was like, wait, I think I do that all the time. What I wanted to say before was there's 12 areas that this has been divided up into, but the name of them is not necessarily what you think it is. Like just because someone says Miami Gardens, that doesn't mean there is a city called Miami Gardens, and that's not necessarily this. They kind of just divided Miami up into these 12 areas on census. Not Miami district government. Census did. So Homestead is also a city. This is bigger than that. This is like, I think it was about like 212th Street on. They're just calling all of that Homestead. Everything above 826, but still like between 95 and Hialeah, but everything above 826, they're calling Miami Gardens. You can even, Key Biscayne, but there's like 2 different Kendalls, but that's just, they're really, like Kendall's not even that big. They're just calling everything out west Kendall Lakes, and everything that is like Pinecrest is called Kendall Bay. There's the Google Southwest side. Anyway, you could also do this cool little thing on census. How many subdivisions what we are in? Florida. Miami-Dade. And let's look at poverty. In Census, we can actually make a map right here with it. Click on the piece of data that we want, somewhere in the percent. Show map. See, so they're calling, is everything labeled? And you can change the colors, all this good stuff. Something that might help you one day when you want to make a good report about something in school. You can include a map that you made without even knowing that much, the labels, colors, data classes.
Maybe if you zoom in, they'll appear.
Yeah, maybe. Now, I want the names they gave it. So you see how much they call what Homestead is? All right. Well, I can tell you which one they are because I sat here. Well, because I make this map all the time. This is Miami Gardens. This is Miami. This is Miami Beach. This is Key Biscayne. This is Princeton Goulds, which is also just like tiny little places, but they call that whole thing Princeton Goulds. One of these is Kendall. Hialeah is Hialeah. And then Northwest side is this one. Southwest side is this one, I think. And then Kendall and Kendall. Yeah. Anyway, this is how they divided it. It's not 100% accurate, but you can also just click on here to see how to get it. But let's say we made a graph, and line graphs are also not the most important thing in the world. I just personally find it easier to see the difference or a change when looking at a line graph versus like bar graphs. You got to constantly look back at what my eyes don't work that well to compare two different areas or just to see what a correlation is. But let's say we look at total dropout percent and then poverty and black poverty. So let's think total poverty, that's total population. We're gonna make a percent of this, we're gonna insert a column, make this equal to this divided by this times 100. Get rid of some of them decimal points because they're annoying. What did I just say? Poverty, let's look at black. Actually, I'm gonna show you the difference. Let's insert. Let's make this one equal to the this is black total poverty divided by total poverty times 100 equals black total poverty divided by black population times 100. Or we could do equals black poverty divided by total population times 100 equals. Okay, did you have to take philosophy class called logic? Like if P then Q, if P or Q, then you never had to take this?
I did that, they do that a little bit in math.
Right. So similar to that, I think of this, you gotta use your logic.
Postulates?
Yes. To figure out what is actually gonna make sense of what we're seeing. Is it, let me label these. This one was black out of black pop. I always do this to myself. I'll write something and say, oh yeah, I remember what that means. No, I'm not. Actually, then I wrote that wrong. This is out of poverty. This is black out of black. This is black out of total. Alright, so let's all of these be, get rid of those decimals. So when you look at the black out of the black population, it only really, you know, one other factor that would probably important is also what percentage is black even. But you see these like lines, especially like Homestead, when it goes up, it almost becomes exactly some, the poverty and no diploma really have a strong correlation. To the point where now I actually want to get rid of those other ones and just look at, forget the black part, and just look at poverty and no diploma. Delete the whole thing.
The reason that it spikes so high with on Key Biscayne is because the black population is so small.
It's so small,
And
and it's just, there's only like 45 black people, and like almost all of them are. I think this, all right, it's also what they're calling Key Biscayne. It's also including Virginia Key. And it's like, maybe it's not Virginia Key. It's somewhere, okay, it included, what they call Key Biscayne included everything around all the islands off of there. And so like one of those has like, I don't know, treatment center or something like this is on there. It's not in Key Biscayne, obviously. There's no poor part of Key Biscayne. But it was, yeah, so out of the black population that's even there, a lot of them are poor because they're in that treatment center. Same thing with like the Everglades. The Everglades is literally the Everglades. It's not some place they're calling the Everglades, it is the Everglades. There's only 616 people there, but 505 are below the poverty line. So that includes the Native American population there, and also, that's like 5,000 people there. 505 are below poverty, and of that, yeah, there was only 95 black people and 40 of them below poverty also. It's because on your way there, there's a jail right next to that casino. There's a jail there. There's also, it probably includes the one like right before you get to the Everglades. If you go to Florida City, I wanted this because. And poverty percent. This. And let's make a line graph of this. So in general, we're seeing that this poverty and education are following the same, where there's increase in poverty, there's an increase in not having a diploma. I mean, it comes off a little bit, and these are things as social scientists we want to know, like, well, actually, that doesn't account for it, because that's the whole city of Miami. It's odd to be making these huge geographical comparisons of, like, Miami has 400,000 people or something like that, what they're calling Miami, versus, like, Everglades had, like, 5,000 people or something like that. But still, in that, you can see the trend is still the same. Especially, like, there, it is, like, an exact trend. We want to do a little bit more than just poverty versus no diploma. I mean, this is what, you probably knew this before you went to school today. I said it in the first sentence of what the assignment is, that social scientists have said there's a correlation between no income and having underperformance and the Black and Latin population in underperformance. And well, I guess we just proved it right. Do you know, I said Black and Latin, you probably wouldn't know it in Miami, which is probably lower performing, Black or Latin, if you had to guess. It doesn't mean you're racist, it just means you're going to guess. Nobody has a guess? It's by far Latin. But you wouldn't know it in Miami, because this is not what Latin immigration looks like in the rest of the country at all. And this is not what the Black population looks like in the rest of the country at all either. Wait, so it's like by far, dropouts for the Latin population are much bigger, and the performances are much lower. But that is, say, the ongoing theory, right? Based on what everybody has said, the theory is that these factors, these variables would be, show a strong correlation for for having an underperformance in school. So we as social scientists test these things on anything. But this is, I'm sure you've all had to take theory classes. No huffing and puffing. Nobody, are you guys awake in here? They're gonna think that I'm talking to myself in my house right now. They don't know that it's a classroom full of people that are energized and excited right now. They don't know. You've taken theory class. More than one. I think you have to take in our department. I think personally too many. But, you know, I didn't make the rules. In these theory classes, you probably thought it was something, you got lost in it a little bit. The professor was talking over your head. The things that they had you read were probably over your head, and you're like, what the hell? Why, this is social sciences? But that is what we're doing. This is the theory. I mean, I didn't need, you know, a 20-page paper to explain it. The theory is that low-income people underperform in school in America. And here's the data to prove it. So we as social scientists, that's all we're doing. That's all we're doing in this class also. Is we're taking what everybody else has said, and now we're taking our own data to see how we can add on to it, or if we can find, just because something's a theory, you know, theories in social sciences aren't like theories in physics. You know, these ones you're gonna kind of, actually no, they're both similar in that they're not really, you can always keep testing it and kind of changing what we know. It's not a precise thing. So we have this theory about low income is gonna produce poor school results. Sure, that'll be the trend, but I bet we can find places that go against this trend. And we can start to figure out, how can we replicate that? How can we, whatever they're doing there, how can we continue to like give those same type of things in some other place that's not doing as well, or another place that's similar that we think we could actually get results like this? So what would be causing such low school performance from Black and Latin students? Nobody? Nobody has any ideas?
Yes, outside occurrences.
Outside occurrences? Things outside of themselves. Like what?
Like home environment.
Home environment. You think there's a difference between immigrant school performances being the same income level versus people that are born here? Why? Oh, I thought like if there's poor people, the immigrant population would do better. Other than Black and Latin also. The immigrant population, I would think, would do a little bit better.
They have more to strive for.
That's nothing from the environment. That is something that society has been telling you. This is an ongoing theory that social scientists don't really want to touch, because social scientists don't want to be racist, or don't really want to say there's something wrong with the entire system. But there probably is. Because people, like right now, you're probably just like learning what gentrification is, and like, something I studied in school, and I guess, places I go out, there are new trendy places that I heard used to be dangerous. Okay. I bet if you go to a 7-year-old in Overtown and ask them not what gentrification is, but what's gonna happen in his neighborhood in 5 years, they'll know what happens. At like 7 years old, I think they'll know it. Because the writing's all over it. Everything in life is not about what's happening in school, but the evidence is everywhere, blatantly clear, that Brickell's moving north, Windham's moving south, and there's an ocean on that side, and there's nowhere to go. They're gonna end up somewhere out of here real soon. Because the only new things being built are for rich people, or upper income white people.
Artsy.
Yes. Yes. So, there is, every time there's like some type of a riot or all-day protest type of things, and people from outside love to say, why are they doing that to their neighborhood? Why are they destroying it? Why would they do this? Because people are fed up. This is not their neighbor. People are logical. They're not going to take their brand new thing they just put money into and destroy it. But the place that they're destroying is not theirs. And they know, and they're showing how much it's not theirs. Yeah.
That's the infrastructure that they're trapped by.
Yeah, exactly. So if you, right now, 5 of you of 13 turned in your homework. And I'm not mad about it because I've been at FIU for a while. But if we were at Princeton, I bet 13 of 13 would have turned it in and been mad at me that it was simple as this and like, why did I get more for my money and I need to like, why did I get the data for them? They would have wanted to gotten the data and all that stuff. Probably, no joke. Now Princeton doesn't have different textbooks than us. So if we were at Miami-Dade College, I'd probably expect lower results. This one is somewhere in the middle. You'll eventually get done what you need to get done. Princeton is going to go above and beyond, and Miami-Dade students aren't really going to put too much into it. Yeah.
But also, there's been like 4 or 5 times where I've had the professor is the one that wrote the textbook for the class.
Yeah.
And Miami-Dade, I'm sure that.
Oh, that doesn't happen. But here, it actually, you wouldn't know it, but it is here also. Mm-hmm. This is a Research One university. The professors at FIU, all the new professors, have come from the best schools in America to get a PhD. So they're producing research that is published in what everybody is reading. In Miami-Dade, it would not be the same, but I also think it's not the professors necessarily. I think there is a trust in the system. If you're at Princeton, the students there know 100% that their hard work is going to pay off into something, and they're going to do it. And they know there's going to be a result. It's a damn near 100% no, if I do this and I actually put all this work into it, I'm going to get a reward for it. And the reward is going to be for the rest of my life. At FIU, you kind of believe in the system. You've heard that it works, but you're not seeing the direct result. So you kind of just do, you'll turn it in. Everybody's going to turn it in, but it's going to be late. It's not going to be with the whole effort, and it's not going to be, it's going to be enough to get through it. And you're going to see if it's worth, because people are logical. Why would you put all this work into something if there's no result? That sounds pretty stupid. People at Miami-Dade are going to believe in the system even less. And people who drop out of school probably, some people have actual reasons why they drop out that are beyond their control, but overwhelmingly people drop out because this has got nothing to do with there is no way that this is going to have any impact on what their life is. And they know it, and all society knows it. We're not all gonna invent some new stupid social media thing. We're not gonna write some algorithm that's gonna make life, that's gonna automate something else. It's not gonna happen. There is laborers, and we don't need the laborers that we've been using for so long. And so even though people didn't read Marxist theory, and people don't know what socialism is, overwhelmingly, poor people know that they're the freaking laborer and they're not wanted anymore. They don't need to read all that. You see, that stuff was written for other elite white people to talk about it. Everybody else already knows it. It's nothing new. So, if you see somebody in Overtown who maybe has, like when they have that box Chevy with candy paint on it and big ass rims on it, that kind of car, you know what I mean? And it maybe has a Kool-Aid paint on the side of it or something.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
That was the early 2000s.
That was the early 2000s. I haven't been out much lately. But the car costs a lot. And maybe this person has a kid that they see sometimes, but every time he sees him, he buys some Jordans or something, but no college savings account. Why would you do that? It seems so simple. And I say, Why wouldn't you do the homework? It seems so simple. I'm telling you 100% that learning how to take the data and do something with it is a marketable skill that's gonna get you paid. So don't blame somebody who's low income from Overtown for why he got big rims on his stupid car. It makes perfect sense for that person. Because they're never gonna end up doing this. They're never gonna end up working with Goldman Sachs. But he's the man in Overtown. He is the man. So, enjoy. I will see y'all. Whew. Anything to add to that? No, I just dropped the bomb. That's it.